The warmest of greetings to you folks here at the World Storytelling Cafe, where we are to share yet more epic tales. I am your storyteller Chip, and I am joined today, I'm really happy to say, by another storyteller who is the wonderful Janina. Hello, Janina.
Hi, Chip. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, October has been such a fun month full of amazing festivals like Poetry Day and Singing Day and Halloween. So we couldn't let it go by without Janina and I working on a story together. But of course, November is a fun month too, so we are going to look forward to November in this story. And, well, Janina, what is the first festival in November that you can think of?
Bonfire night.
I'm not surprised you said that one, because it is a fun one, and it does happen right at the start of November, doesn't it? What's the date again? The 5th of November. But do you know, there is actually a festival in November that happens even earlier than Bonfire Night. In fact, it happens on the 1st of November. And that is the festival that Christians call All Saints' Day. This is a day that we don't maybe hear about all that much because you don't get many Happy Saints' Day cards in card shops. But the day before it is, of course, Halloween. And Halloween is actually short for All Hallows Eve. Now that means a hallowed person is a saint. Halloween is like the Christmas Eve to All Saints' Day. So when you're celebrating Halloween, you are kind of also celebrating all of the saints. Now, Janina, do you know what a saint is?
I think I do know this one, actually. Is a saint a really, really important person that lived a long time ago that was remembered for doing really good things?
That's right. A saint is someone who is remembered for doing really important things or really amazing things. Here in England, where we are telling this story from today, I suppose one of the most famous saints is a knight called George, who is famous for fighting off a dragon.
Oh, yes. And there's Wenceslas as well. You know, from that Christmas carol, you might have sung it at school or at Christmas time. Good King Wenceslas looked out. That one.
Yeah, Christmas. Do you know what? Thinking of Christmas makes me remember another saint called Nicholas, otherwise known as Father Christmas, or Santa Claus even. Do you know what? I'm really looking forward to Christmas now, if it means we get to hear more of your beautiful singing, Janina. And thinking of singing makes me remember another saint who thought that singing was really important. His name was Bede. Saint Bede lived here on the island of Britain, and he is famous for having written one of the first books from the island of Britain. And in that book, Bede wrote a story about somebody else who really liked singing, and that is the story that we are going to share with you right now.
Our story starts with a person called Caedmon. He was a farmhand at a big abbey. He was a farmhand, so his job was to look after all of the animals. He looked after some cows, and we all know what sound a cow makes, don't we? Moo! Do you want to help me with that, Chip?
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
He looked after the cows.
Moo.
He looked after the sheep. And you know what sound a sheep makes, don't you? A sheep says, "Bah." Chip, do you want to help me with that one as well?
All right then.
He looked after the sheep.
Bah.
And he looked after the chickens. Now, come on. I know you've got a chicken impression inside you.
Oh, definitely. I love this one.
He looked after the chickens. So, Caedmon was a farmhand looking after the cows,
Moo.
the sheep,
Bah.
and the chickens.
Bah.
His job every day was to milk the cows,
Moo.
to herd the sheep,
Bah.
and to collect eggs from the chickens.
Bah.
Now, spending all day on a farm, working hard with all those animals, meant that Caedmon got really dirty. And if you get really dirty, you also get quite stinky too. And because Caedmon was so smelly, nobody came to visit him. But Caedmon didn't mind. He had all of his friends right there. He had the cows.
Moo.
He had the sheep.
Bah.
And he had the chickens. All the time, as he worked, he could hear beautiful singing coming from the abbey. The nuns and the monks spent all day praising and singing and worshipping. Caedmon didn't understand anything they were saying because they weren't talking in his language. And even when they did talk in his language, they spoke of such big ideas that, well, they may as well just have been making noise, just like the cows,
Moo.
and the sheep,
Bah.
and the chickens.
Bah.
One day, a nun was walking along the beach, and she looked up and saw Caedmon stood on the cliff edge, gazing at the abbey and smiling. She said to him, "Are you enjoying the singing?"
Now, Caedmon had heard that it was dangerous to be caught singing or talking of big ideas if you were just a farmer. He could lose his job, or worse, his head. So he said, "Oh, yes, it's beautiful singing, but of course, I don't understand any of it."
You don't understand what this singing is about?
No. I mean, they're speaking in Latin most of the time, and my language is English. And even when they speak in English, their ideas are so big, it might as well just be noise.
Oh, well, let me tell you. They're singing about God and how he made everything.
Everything?
Everything. Even the cows.
Moo.
And the sheep.
Bah.
And the chickens.
Caedmon really enjoyed learning about God from the nun. But before she left, she made him promise that he would not go singing or telling anyone about God, because that was the job of the nuns and the monks. That night, when Caedmon went to sleep, he began to have a dream about a man who really smelled of fish. But that man began to teach Caedmon a song in his own language of English, not Latin like the nuns and the monks were singing. No, this was in his own language of English. And the song went something like this. Nu skulle Herren herfen riches verd, mer ter des merta en tes
Hang on. Chip, what are you doing?
I'm singing the song that the fishy man taught to Caedmon.
But what was that? That wasn't English.
Yes, it was. Like I said, he was teaching this song to Caedmon in his own language, and Caedmon was definitely English. I mean, he was one of the first English people ever, back when the English were just first starting to live around the island of Britain. What was that, 1,350 years ago?
So, if that was English, was it Old English then?
Well, yeah, you're right. 1,300 years ago, English did sound very different back then. English has changed a lot over the years.
Okay, so that we can all understand it, do you think maybe we could sing it in modern English, please?
That is a good idea, I think. In the English that we speak today, it would have sounded like this. We should praise our heavenly King, who created everything. He is mighty, he is wise. He made the earth, he made the skies. And he made it all for us. He is God so glorious. Tell you what, let's sing that one more time so that you can join in if you like. We should praise our heavenly King, who created everything. He is mighty, he is wise. He made the earth, he made the skies, and he made it all for us. He is God so glorious. The next morning, Caedmon could still remember that song. It was going around and around inside his head. The only way he could get it out was to sing it. And this seemed to make all the animals really happy. He sang it to the cows. Moo! We should praise our heavenly King, who created everything. He sang it to the sheep. Meh. He is mighty, he is wise. He made earth, he made the skies. And he sang it to the chickens. And he made it all for us. He is God so glorious.
Caedmon!
It was the nun that he'd seen yesterday. And Caedmon began to get very worried because he'd heard that if he was caught singing, well then he could lose his job. Or worse, his head.
Where did you learn that song?
So Caedmon could only think to tell the truth. I learned it from a man who taught it to me in a dream. He was a man who really smelt of fish.
In a dream? You need to come with me. What's going to happen to Caedmon? Will he be punished for singing? Will he lose his job? Or worse, his head?
Well, if we are going to find out what happens to Caedmon, then we need you to complete our epic challenge. And for this story, what we would like you to do is think about how language has changed. English has changed. Remember, we said in the story, didn't we, that the words Caedmon used 1,300 years ago, we barely recognize today. So what we'd like you to do is go back over the story and find some words that are maybe a little bit new to you. It might be a word like, well, it might be a word like saint, or it might be a word like glorious or heavenly. Even if the words are all words that you understand, maybe you can find a word there that you don't use every day. Not many people use words like heavenly every day, not anymore. In fact, people probably don't use words like saint every day anymore either. And what we'd like you to do is pick one of those words and see if you can come up with another word to explain what it means. Now, a word like saint, someone who does amazing and important things, well, that could be a word like superhero. They definitely didn't have words like superhero back in Caedmon's time. Glorious is something that we might use a word like awesome for today. And heavenly, I know it sounds weird, but one way we might say heavenly today is wicked. Think of a new way of saying one of those words that have been around for a really long time. Maybe draw us a picture to go with it and describe what the word means. Draw a picture of something heavenly, or take a photo of something glorious. Maybe even draw a picture of someone you think is a saint. You could dress up as somebody who you think is a saint. And then have a go at putting down the word from the story that describes it and adding your word. Do you know what? I think you could even make up your own words. So maybe it's a word for something that you do understand. Like if we take abbey, which Janina said was a kind of church, but bigger because there are monks inside or nuns inside. A word for that could be mega church. Or even if it's a word you want to completely make up for something that you know really well, like cows, you could call them, I don't know, moody woos. Have lots of fun with it. Be really creative. Find some of the words in the story that you can add something to, either a new word or a made-up word, and send it to us with a picture to epictales.co.uk/challenge. What might help you here is if you ask your teacher to look on our website for the PDF. This is basically the story written down. Your teacher will be able to find it on there, and maybe she can then, or he can then, help you to find some of those words. Send it to us at epictales.co.uk/challenge with your extra word, your new word, or your made-up word, maybe your pictures too, and then we will share with you part 2 of the story of Caedmon.
We can't wait to hear your ideas, and we can't wait to share the end of the story either. But right now, it only remains for us to say cheerio, and we hope to hear your stories soon. So,
Cheerio! And we hope to hear your stories soon.